Oh, my mic may have been muted that whole time on hardware, so I'm gonna start at 9:34. Hopefully you guys can really hear me now. Fun times with the microphone. Cool. 30 attendees. We broke the number. All right, let's get into it. So hopefully, Aditya, I know you're on the call, but anybody else that's in the room would really appreciate if you guys can kind of keep the Q&A here for me. Great, you can hear me. Hear me now.
Jason and Sydney are here.
Awesome. Cool. Gonna go ahead and dismiss these. So if you guys just keep an eye on these, feel free to throw in and say, hey, I've got some stuff in the Q&A we should address. Cool. All right, so hopping right in. Big news of the week here is that we have released PowerShell 7 Preview 2. So you can see that up in our releases here. Number of changes, no major features here. A lot of stuff is still going through incubation right now in the RFC, but there are a number of fixes, some new properties that got added to some stuff. We fixed DSC compilation on Linux in anticipation of some small DSC work we want to do in 7. So bunch of new stuff here. Again, I wouldn't say anything's major. Perf stuff is great. This is this for each object 2 times faster. I saw someone tweeting about this. Number of perf fixes. So give it a try. Let us know if there's anything going wrong. A ton of new modules have been working with the -skip addition check. A bunch of the stuff in managed C++. I've actually not yet installed the preview 2 here. But even looking in preview 1, you can do, for instance, if I make this bigger, can I make this bigger? Yeah. Woo! I can do like an import module PKI skip addition check and actually do like new self-insert if I knew what I needed here. Want some special stuff. It works. I tell you, it works. But anyway, yeah, try new modules because again, NetCore 3 brought back a bunch of new APIs, and it really is the case that a lot of this stuff is working. So if I do, yeah, I think you guys get the idea. This thing imports and runs it all. It's giving me errors from new self-insert. So cool. Give that a shot. A lot of what what's going on?
You want to connect? You can try connecting.
You guys doing okay there? Okay. A lot of what we're doing is going on in the RFC repo right now. We recognize that we have not been doing a great job of this repo. I'm going to say just outright. And we've recognized some frustration in the GitHub repos, both RFC and regular, about the sort of slow-moving process here. We're reworking some of this. We recognize that this is not sustainable given the volume that we have coming in. There's frustration on all sides that these reviews are painful to go through. They're very, very long. For a lot of these, you're seeing a ton of comments, and these are not trivial comments coming in on a lot of these. This is 91 here, 94 here. Not to mention the fact that these RFCs are multifaceted, impact lots of aspects of the ecosystem, and are on the whole just very heavy. And on the flip side, we are a platform. We do have to maintain a certain level of cohesion among the design decisions that we make, and making these things willy-nilly without thinking about them is also not a great approach. So one thing that we've been playing around with, and I know that Jim has been a huge proponent here, is sort of figuring out if we can do some of this work outside of PowerShell before, sort of going through this painful RFC process, really having a proof point that something is useful, stable, meets people's needs, and meets the bar for inclusion in PowerShell. And so one of the things we're going to do to test this out is, Jim's been noodling on the it looks like we already closed the PR yesterday. So we had a PR for environment variables RFCs, environment variable commandlets, excuse me, going back like a couple of years ago, and we had never really fixed this one up and got it going. But Jim took some of the code that was written in the prototype of this thing and got it working, and basically said, hey, instead of like fighting for inclusion in PowerShell, I'm just going to publish this module as me, and we'll see if people find it useful, and we'll make sure that it's stable and sort of develop it out there with folks that are using it off of the gallery in a pre-release form. Or 0.1 form of some kind. And then when we want to include it, we can just simply make a case for including that module in PowerShell rather than trying to develop it, design it, build it, test it, dock it, and release it all as part of inclusion in PowerShell. So in other words, like if there's more things that we can do to sort of prove that something is useful without going through this process, we'd like to do that. And so we're experimenting with that one first off, but this is not to say that we're not going to still fix up some of this process and really try and have some more frequency. We'd like more asynchronous communication from the committee, myself included. Basically not waiting for these big long meetings to come up with a single opinion post discussion, but actually putting our opinions out there, in a more frequent way, and then having a meeting that just sort of where we make decisions rather than the discussions themselves. To that end, I've also been trying to be more transparent by putting some of these notes from our meetings in this notes folder. This isn't perfect yet. I'm not doing an amazing job yet of making sure that these always get taken, but we are trying to say, hey, this is what we reviewed. This is sort of how we're thinking about things. You'll see here, review of this HTML commandlet actually inspired this conversation about, what the right way for us to take modules into core is. There's just a lot of little things that we're trying to do that collectively we hope makes everything easier. I'm also planning to publish a blog describing the way that we sort of see the RFC process. There's a formal process that's codified, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that there's not some other stuff that you can do that just makes reviewers' lives easier, both for us and reviewers in the community that are reading these things. So we'll sort of go through that, and it's sparked a lot of internal discussion among our committee and the engineering team as well. So definitely we'll have more to report on there. Do we have any questions coming in? So this question is, will the for each parallel feature be available in PowerShell 7? And Darwin says US patent process leans a lot on sales of patent pending process for judging patent worthiness, so a similar pattern to what you're proposing. Yeah, absolutely. So, in other words, like it would be amazing if we could have an RFC that is basically pointing at an environment variable module in the gallery and saying, that module is very popular and would be very useful in PowerShell core. We should include it. And then if it's already built, designed, tested, docked, used in the wild, meets all of the requirements of PowerShell, then the decision is basically just, hey, does this meet the bar for shipping in PowerShell based on size, value, primitive, etc. So that's kind of the model we're trying to push towards there, Darwin. But again, that's not a new process. We're not saying do this, don't do that. But for the stuff that we're shipping, we're going to experiment with that one for a period of time. So Ian is, hopefully saying that right, Ian is asking, will the for each parallel feature be available in PowerShell 7? So barring its rejection as an RFC, yes, we would like it to ship in 7. If we look here at the PowerShell blog, we did release, and hopefully folks have seen this one already, but for those who haven't, Steve published a PowerShell 7 roadmap. A number of these things are what we're investigating. So definitely check out the PowerShell roadmap. So if you scroll down here, you'll see these are all the things we would like to ship in PowerShell 7. This is not to say that they are definitely guaranteed shipping, but we are investigating these things throughout the life cycle of 7. A number of them have RFCs already. We haven't linked to all of those yet, but again, if I look in the pull requests here in the PowerShell RFC repo, you'll see there's a secrets management RFC here that goes with this simplified secure credentials management, logging off the box. I believe if it doesn't, it will at some point in the future. I don't know if I think Travis is doing that work. New version notification has already had an RFC published, and then a number of these, including the parallel for each object, are here. These are popular requested features. There's stuff we want to do, but like for instance, the ternary operator, we have ternary conditionals. I don't know if that includes the ternary operator as well here, and why that's not linking out. Yeah. So the ternary conditionals are actually out now in an RFC as well as a PR, and so you'll see here this is a add support to ternary operator PR. I thought this was a draft as of yesterday. Yep, this is a draft, and then there's also an RFC that goes with this one. Ternary, maybe not. Maybe I lied. But check out that PR. We're discussing this thing, and this again. These are all things we want to ship into 7. I lost the blog. So they're the stuff that we would like to commit engineers to for the scope of 7, barring anyone having this stuff rejected via RFC. So we think this is all the right stuff to do, but we got to go through the process just the same. All right. Wondering if anything's coming in via Twitch. Aditya, do you have Tyler in the room there? Hello.
No, I don't.
Nope, I have Tyler on the presenters here. Yep. Just making sure there's nothing coming through the Twitch chat. I know we've got some viewers there as well. For those that don't know, Tyler, can you possibly post in the chat the Twitch link? I think it's just Twitch TV PowerShell Live. Hopefully he can hear me. And this is more for the folks. I think it's PowerShell Live. Hopefully. PowerShell live streams not.
I just stepped in. The URL for Twitch.
Yeah, it's good. No one said anything yet. I just started it like 30 seconds ago.
Oh, okay. So it is working. It is PowerShell Live is the one.
Yeah, it'll eventually show up.
Okay. I'll say watch a mirror of the stream. And of course, there's always awesome stuff being streamed there as well. So check that out. Cool. So we've got the roadmap. I'll also link here to the. Make sure to review new RFCs that could land in 7. And we'll go ahead and link to the RFC pull requests. Now on all the other fronts, so we're doing a lot of work still in Script Analyzer, Editor Services, the VS Code extension. A lot of this work is sort of back-end groundwork work to make things better in the future, around performance, stability. So we're spending a lot of time in Vibranium really doing some deep refactoring, and we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of this stuff approved by our management that is not necessarily super exciting feature work beyond the PowerShell 7 stuff, but that will will really make the experience better and allow us to develop more quickly in the future. So sort of think of that as like a mirror of what we did with the PowerShell 6.2 work. Similarly, I'm not sure that it got mentioned in the PowerShell 7 roadmap blog, but we'd like to do a PowerShell Get 3.0 at some point. There is an RFC for that one already available here. Very, very popular, 286 comments. Again, this one may be a candidate for, hey, let's ship it in the wild as a pre-release and see if people actually like this thing and get the API surface area to a certain level of stability before we go and merge a PR and bring it into PowerShell. So, it's not a time critical thing that requires, oh my God, if we don't make it into PowerShell 7, then we're not going to be able to do 3. It's just like, let's make 3, let's get it ready, and when it's ready, we can put it in PowerShell. So that's happening as well. Definitely check that one out if you haven't yet. Cool. So one of the things that we have been working on for a very long time, we've been blocked on for a while, and I'm gonna give the signal to Aditya to get ready here as I prep this up. But we now support this concept of .NET Global Tools. So a .NET Global Tool, for those that have used the .NET SDK, which is the .NET CLI binary, they've added support for the ability to install certain NuGet packages from NuGet.org that are packaged as global tools, which Node.js has a very similar concept. I think Python may have a very similar concept, but the idea is you install this package, it's got a bunch of DLLs, and basically all of PowerShell except for the executable. And then there's a special little shim tool that makes it so that you can execute that package as if it were a console application. So basically you can use this instead of the MSI package for installing your thing, instead of the Linux package, instead of a snap package, you can .NET install, or I think it's .NET and tool install. Aditya is going to show it right here, but that will bring PWSH into your run space, and you can manage the life cycle of that package or that application via the .NET SDK instead of some other package manager. So Aditya, I'm going to try and figure out how I can switch this over to you. I believe you can put it in the queue here on the left if you try to share, and then we can switch over to your screen there.
Let me try to share. Is that visible?
It is, yes.
Okay, so I'll be showing off the .NET Global tool. So I'm here on command prompt and I have the .NET SDK installed, but I do not have PowerShell installed over here. So the easiest way to install PowerShell when you have the .NET SDK installed is to do .NET tool install -g PowerShell. And what this does is it pulls a NuGet package published on NuGet.org and installs it as a tool. That's a special NuGet package which is marked with a metadata saying that it's a .NET tool. And once it's down, it installs it in a location and adds it to the path. So this takes just a few seconds. And once it's done, you can just type pwsh and you will have PowerShell. In the meantime, I can.
Do you know how they would update that if it was once we get an update? Is it the same command?
Yeah, it's the same command.
Cool. Sorry, you were about to say something.
So, and then you just type pwsh and you will have PowerShell installed for you. And this is full fidelity PowerShell, so it's not a smaller version or anything like this, and you can do whatever you do by installing through MSI or anything like that. And this is a global tool, so it works on all platforms that PowerShell supports, not just Windows, so Linux, Mac OS, Alpine, etc., etc. So another scenario that we wanted to enable with this is for CI/CD scenarios. So we have included the global tool as part of the .NET's Docker images, the SDK images specifically. So what I'll show over here is I will pull the .NET Docker SDK image, and that already has PowerShell included in it. So you can just do pwsh and you have PowerShell for your build scripts and stuff like that. You'll see that the version over here is slightly older because the specific Docker image that I'm using is from the previous release. This will be updated with every Docker SDK container image update. A few more scenarios that this enables is you can have a Docker file with which has PowerShell syntax in it. So over here, I'm just using the image for the SDK, which has PowerShell installed in it, and then using PowerShell commands in my Docker file. So I could just do Docker build, and during the building of the Docker image, you can see that I can run PWS and get process, for example, and you could run your build scripts similarly. Another thing that this enables is using a build script, which is part of your repo, as using a build script, which is part of your repo, and you can call it while invoking Docker image. So what this enables is this mounts my repo and calls the build.ps1 from the repo, and then you can use this for targeting different Docker images, but still use PowerShell from it to run your builds for various container images that you want to support. And this could be used for either build scripts or even running tests across various platforms and stuff like that. So that's all I had. Please check it out. You can just install it from here or use the .NET SDK images. Thanks. And I will be publishing a blog post about this very shortly.
Awesome. Thank you, Aditya. So yeah, guys, definitely keep your eyes peeled for that blog post. I think it's going to go out today, probably because of my failure to review in time. So let's get this added here. Cool. So there's a question here that I missed about any voting for the experimental features to be implemented, which is a great question. So experimental features, you know, we got them in. We've got a few of them. A couple of them have now been promoted to full features because we haven't seen any problems with them. A couple of the other ones, like the command suggestion, as well as the implicit remoting, excuse me, as well as the implicit remoting one, have not been promoted because of a couple issues. The suggestions one was is not working in other console hosts like VS Code, and we want to rework the suggestion framework. And the implicit remoting, there's some bugs there that we've got to fix before we feel comfortable publishing it as stable. But you know, the experimental features are sort of something that we wanted to do to kind of lower the bar of you know, allowing code to be included without putting the platform at risk, and really giving people the ability to try changes and see if scripts break and language features before we take them. And we've really been underutilizing that as we go through this RFC process. And you know, per the conversation before about us reworking the RFC process, I think we really want to take experimental features heavily into account as part of that new process, and you know, sort of you know, leverage that just to make it easier for us to get through RFCs and to have some kind of data about the feature before making a decision. Now, on that note, one of the things I did not mention that will be going into Preview 3, we had a very lengthy RFC on telemetry. And I know telemetry is like this dirty word for everyone. Nope, not that one. This one here on additional telemetry. So I won't go totally into the details other than to say that all of this is super anonymous. It's all, you know, GUIDs. We don't take any identifying information from your machine. This is all disabled, will be disableable in the same mechanisms that we already have for telemetry. But this is going to give us way more information and data about what we should be building, what people are using that we ship. Again, we're not collecting any information about what other people ship or other modules that you use. But there may be some information about which experimental features, for instance, you have enabled, right? Which is why it's tied up here in the same sort of conversation. This is likely going to show up in Preview 3. We'll publish a blog on it about exactly what's there. We're going to be working this information into some form of public dashboard, probably the one that we already have, to share this data with you guys. And we really believe that this is going to allow us to make a lot more concrete statements backed by data about the kinds of decisions we're making from a priority perspective. And I think, conflated with the RFCs and the experimental features, we think there's some opportunity here to streamline all that. Now, I think I heard Jim talking there on the call. Is that,
Yes.
Jim, you want to hop in because I know you're the one building this feature?
Yeah, in fact, I'm planning on doing a couple of Twitch sessions on the implementation and the data that we're collecting, and walking through the code as it's mostly built, but I still have things to do, and I was planning on using Twitch and a Twitch stream to go through the whole thing from top to bottom. A couple of them, in fact.
That sounds awesome. Do you have a link? Is that through Tyler's stream, or do you have your own at this point, or?
It's mine.
Okay.
So it'll be Twitch TV/JWTruer. I've done 2 streams so far.
Awesome.
And I'll be doing another set on this particular topic.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, so we'll and I'm sure there'll be a recording of that. We'll try to publish some VODs as well, and I'll probably link to that in any blog post I end up publishing. This is not a thing we take lightly. There's a reason we went through an intense RFC on this one and have been, as public as we have about it. But as many of the community members noted in the discussion for this thing, and I really applaud you guys. This is data that will be useful to us. We're not just collecting this to spy on you or to sell you product or something. This is all about, hey, what are we building in PowerShell? How are people using PowerShell? Are we building the right stuff? Are we making people's lives better with what we're putting in PowerShell? So are we wasting a bunch of time on some stuff that no one's using, which is just as important to find out. So yeah, definitely check out Jim's stream. Jim, do you have any kind of regularity with the scheduling, or is there somewhere people can find out when you'll be streaming on that?
I'm working on being more regular. Sounds funny. But right now I usually tweet an hour beforehand, and so far Tyler and Steve have been retweeting. So if you're following JWTruer on Twitter, you'll see it there. And if you're following Tyler, which I expect you already are, since he has his reach is far greater than mine, he usually retweets. So and if the channel, I guess you get notifications if you follow my channel as well.
Awesome.
Did you hear anything?
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Appreciate it. Cool. So I do, I think I've exhausted a lot of what we're working on here. I don't know. I know we do have some news. There's someone new in the room there that should introduce themselves.
Is it?
Oh, that
Jim?
must be me.
Hey,
Oh.
Jim.
My name is Jason Helmick, and along with Superstar Joey and everybody else that's in the room, I am very glad to be here. A lot of you already know me, and you know that the only passion I have greater than PowerShell is the community itself. So while I'm not up on Twitch yet, I will be soon, and I look forward to working with everybody. Thanks, Joey.
Jason. Yep. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, for those that knew Jason in his PowerShell.org MVP Pluralsight days, we can't be more excited to have him on board, and really looking forward to all the stuff you do, Jason, with the community and in the product. So we're very excited. But definitely, for those that don't follow him already, the Jason Helmick, is that right?
Yep, that's it.
the Jason Helmick on Twitter. Check him out. You know, he's going to be doing more and more, and you'll be seeing a lot of him over the next few months. Cool. Now I want to make sure we're getting to all the questions here. I've seen a couple trickle in, and I think I've made them. You know, oh, Tyler had the issue. He replied here about VS Code running on iPads. I would love that. That sounds awesome, especially with the remote, remote development stuff. That would be pretty sweet, right, Tyler? You could do all the SSH into that. So maybe look at thecoder.com in the meantime. Oh, they have an iPad plugin. The coder.
Well,
people.
it's all in your browser, so.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Who's that guy? Cool. Are there any other questions? I know we're really early here on time. We've all been pretty heads down on writing these RFCs, writing prototypes. You know, unfortunately, a lot of that isn't as exciting from a demo perspective. Anybody questions in the Q&A? Anything? Nothing on Twitch, Tyler, in the chat?
Did you check the GitHub repo? Or the issue?
Oh my gosh, I am the worst. Oh my gosh. Yes, I hope. I did not make one. Steve's been doing that, and I didn't look to see if he made one here.
Pretty sure he did.
He did 3 days ago. Awesome. So there's a couple questions coming into the community call from prior in the week. So what about creating PowerShell lab repo with auto-publishing NuGet packages like CoreFX Lab could facilitate the development of new modules and experimental features? So this is coming from Ilya. Great question. You know, those guys are doing a phenomenal job sort of managing all their repos. I remember talking to a dev over there years ago when they were embarking on that sort of mission to refactor all their repos for better CD and sort of cross integration between each other. I think it's something that we are going to continually be working towards. I don't know that we'll have a repo that extensive as CoreFX Lab. I'm not super familiar with it, but you know, we have a number of things that do get published automatically behind the scenes, some of which can be displayed, some of which cannot. I know some of what the .NET publishes, you know, they are underneath the umbrella of the .NET Foundation, and as such have a little bit more freedom to publish packages in a certain way. We have to meet a number of Microsoft requirements that require us to publish a certain way using some internal servers in addition to how we, you know, do everything in public. So, you know, I think. I'm not sure the specifics there. If anybody in the room is and has messed with the CoreFX Lab repo, love for them to talk to it too. But I think that the general point here is, like, you know, we've got the PowerShell developers. We're constantly trying to find that balance between improving and automating our infrastructure and developing features and you know, moving PowerShell forward. And you know, one of those is sort of a long-term dividend, and the other's more short-term. But you know, I don't think anything would make us say no, except like just resourcing time and again, some of that compliance stuff that requires us to do the internal. But does anybody in the room want to say anything else on that?
Not familiar.
Okay. Cool. So this one, can a process be put into place to ensure all Microsoft-owned modules are in compliance with NuGet version normalization? For more information, refer to this. So, I don't know about this, but when obtaining packages from a repo, reinstall. Okay, so I imagine that basically where leading zeros are removed, that makes sense to me. So basically you're saying, hey, PowerShell get is probably already using NuGet to do this normalization as of 3.4. And so, hey, can we make sure that PowerShell is treating all these things the same, since theoretically, you know, I guess the module manifest version is not getting normalized while the NuGet version is.
We have to look. Anything that uses anything that turns that string into a system.version will strip those numbers.
Right.
We'll have to look at our input. So.
Yep. So we should definitely look at this one. This has implications on PowerShell. I can understand here. Yep. That's true. 3.1.0 is seen as higher. So yeah, we'll go through and sort of consider the implications. This is a good good one for me to throw in the notes. I'll say version normalization. Thank you for calling that out. Wasn't aware of that one. Short question, can I have a pass-through on wait process that returns standard out and standard error streams so I can pipe them around PowerShell? Longer version, I use PowerShell for CI. I'm constantly frustrated how hard it is to get asynchronous output. I want to be able to invoke my software from PowerShell, have output from a standard error, standard out, get piped around in real time. Of course, it's very elegant when you have to use PowerShell pipe operators, impossible when I have to turn to start process, as I often do. I'm going to look at Jim on this one. I think I get the gist here, which is basically that you want everything to return asynchronously. I don't know where you go pick up the asynchronous output, I guess, unless you just expect it to be emitted to the console when using wait process.
The wait process, like if you are not setting up redirection of the standard input and output and error streams, when you're starting the process, you are not able to do that again. So it's not sufficient to just do it in the wait process step. You have to do that in the start process.
By the time it gets to wait process, it's too late.
Yes.
So you can't change the thing that was already created, and that's where the issues stand. That's kind of where the issue stems from. You can't go back in time and essentially say no, do that. Capture all the streams you haven't been capturing that have already gone.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't start job be the right solution there?
Someone just asked that
It might be.
on Twitch.
It just may not be in that person's workflow. They haven't thought of it.
Okay. Yeah, I would say job operators are probably the right thing to do there.
Yeah.
But if there's difficulty you have in capturing the stream for some kind of native process, let us know. And I imagine if it's in CI, you might even be trying to like pipe that out to some remote location, like some kind of metrics store or something like that, or log analytics or something. I'm not sure, but would love to hear more about that scenario. We can talk at some point. Oh, and Ilya, mapping file descriptors of PWSH process to PowerShell streams. Interesting. Yeah, I'll check this out at some point. I'm not as well versed on this one, but it looks like we do have a bunch of comments now that have come through. I'm glad that everybody's. So we did talk about DSC compilation, get DSC resource for PowerShell 7. So we fixed, I guess, we had some base case test for Linux config compilation that we fixed, or that has been passing, quote unquote. But when we tried anything more complex, it turns out DSC compilation Linux fell over. So we did make a fix in the latest 7 preview that fixes that. Get DSC resource may have to be implemented in order for the invoke DSC resource work that we'd like to do in 7. That RFC is still being drafted by Gail Colas, and sort of he's making sure with some folks that what he's written is going to meet their needs before publishing the RFC for more broad comment. But we do want to do that invoke DSC work in 7 that's very scoped without an LCM, just have PowerShell execute DSC resources, and the get DSC resource may have to come in with that. So there'll be more info on that soon, hopefully with that RFC getting published, but right now just know, yeah, we're doing some small tactical stuff. We're going to try to in 7 for that. Any roadmap for PowerShell? I don't have Danny in the room, do I?
Nope.
No worries. So I'm sure that there will be at some point. I know that, a lot of the planning for our next milestone here is just getting wrapped up for a lot of those Azure services, and I will make sure that Danny is on the next call for PowerShell. I do believe that they're doing some kind of PowerShell community call. Oh. I will have to pull that up, but I could be mistaken. But I think that they're doing an equivalent to what we've got here. I'll try and get some info on that. Cool. Sorry about that. Regarding the RFC process, feels like there's some holes with the template. Can you review, add comments in issue 211 PR 212? Let me just see what that is. Yeah. RFC proposal template enhancement suggestion. Yeah, so I did see this, Ryan. Actually, the I think you were saying, hey, yeah, require support to implement. Like I think I'm with you on the changes. I don't know that they're going to really address the root part of the problem, which is that just the sheer quantity of feedback. I mean, you'll see responses like this really in all the RFCs, and that's really the major issue that we're trying to grapple with is how do we respond to all this feedback? How do we read it all and like make a decision on the RFC based on a collation of all this feedback? And I mean, it's kind of a good problem to have to some extent. The process as we designed it originally, I didn't ever expect for there to be 10 RFCs or 15 RFCs in a month, right? It just doesn't scale like that. And so, the question is, hey, is that the right thing? Like, should we be dealing with 10 or 15 a month? Is it, does the process need to be reworked? Do we need to bring more people in? Do we need to put some kind of rate limit there? Is there some process for getting things on the docket? So we need additional processes here and sort of mechanisms for prioritizing and triaging all this stuff. But I do think, at first glance, I think your change there is probably helpful, but I just don't know that, again, that it's going to be address the root of the problem. Jim, did you have anything on that too?
No.
Okay. Is it feasible to make Circuit PowerShell like Adafruit's Circuit Python for working on IoT? So are you familiar, Tyler, do you know anything about that and maybe why it would or wouldn't be like PowerShell IoT?
Well, I guess from that perspective, it might be like more of at the microcontroller level, in which case,
Okay.
If .NET can't interact with whatever microcontroller, then obviously we can't. But for stuff like, of course, Raspberry Pi, that stuff would work using PowerShell IoT. So.
Right. Yep. So I linked to that one. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. Pretty cool stuff. Lots of YouTube videos, people doing cool stuff. What about adding the hat operator, like 2 hat 2 equals 4 or 2 star 2, whatever? Anything I see like that, basically, I am not technical enough to come up with the explanation immediately and go, this is why that's scary. But operators in general are scary in PowerShell because of how many of them we already use for all kinds of stuff and what they mean already today. So I'd be scared of a breaking change like that. I imagine Jim is. You have something there, Jim, with the hat.
Yeah. I mean, I would start a discussion in an issue and find out where, whether or not you can flesh out what the idea means and whether anybody else is actually interested or gauge their interest. And I wouldn't write an RFC quite yet for this. It's not clear. All the behaviors need to kind of be described and thought through pretty seriously. And so it's not something we've ever thought about. I know that would be kind of confusing for some of our users, but yeah, so it's greenfield there, and operators are for sure scary.
I was muted, sorry. I'm seeing here this might be similar to what you're talking about.
Oh my God.
But I do know, I just saw a tweet from Joel Bennett yesterday. I believe he just published a math module that allows you to do all kinds of, yeah, he just published this yesterday. And I think it lets you do things like you can type, math, like math 2hat2 or something like that, and it just gives you like invoke math evaluator. So check that out. I think he says he's had it. He's been using it for 6 years, and he just got around to publishing it like yesterday or 2 days ago. So check that out. But there's a bunch of these too. PS Math. I'm sure there are more. So if those do meet your needs, might want to check those out. Cool. Sean says, call for community contributors to write update docs for the V7 features they write. Please do. So if you go into the Microsoft Docs /PowerShell Docs repo, we do have a number of issues that are milestone 7.0. So if you go into this milestone here, you'll see a number of these issues tagged. We would love help on these. For those of you that have written these features, I know a lot of these have been opened probably by the people who wrote the thing in the first place, and a lot of these are us. But definitely make sure that you get this stuff written and published. Cool. Thank you, Sean. What did I just publish that wasn't Sean's? Click the wrong one. If the module does not adhere to NuGet version normalization, NuGet.exe will create a version mismatch between the package and PSD1 version. PowerShell Get uses the package version number to create the module version folder, not PSD1. This causes import module to throw an error. Yeah, we just got to fix that. That sounds like a bug. Buggy bug. Glad you brought it up. You can run code on the circuit board directly from the IDE without having to compile it first. Well, I think you can do that with PowerShell AT because we don't compile anything. I think all the VS Code stuff just works as interpretation. You can debug the interpreter. All that stuff works, right, Taylor?
Yeah. Yeah, you just run the command and interact with whatever peripherals that you're interacting with.
And Joel says that the hat operator caret, excuse me, I said caret for years, and somebody at Microsoft broke me, and I've been saying hat lately. Used in C# for their index range types that are coming up. Not sure it's a great idea to go against that ourselves. Could be the case. I know we've had a number of conversations about where we should or shouldn't be the same or different as C# syntax. This is coming up a lot in our discussions about ternary operator, but it's definitely a good thing to consider as we're building that. But as Jim said, I think and you know, we don't want to say that this is the official model quite yet. It is kind of how we're reworking, but we really do want to push, I think, a lot of these RFCs that were generated to more issue discussion up front. I think a lot of times, you know, someone thinks that they have a great idea, writes up an RFC, hasn't really been sort of sniff tested with other folks in the community. A lot of times, some of the stuff that can be caught doesn't require, you know, the committee to review the whole thing, or for everyone to review this official RFC. You can just kind of publish an issue and say, I'm thinking about this thing. Like, does anyone think that's a terrible idea or a good idea? Or, you know, and you can kind of flesh out some of the concerns prior to writing the RFC in the first place. So, you know, definitely, if you know, you're thinking about writing an RFC today, I would highly recommend that you know, go through that issue process first. Cool. I know we're at 10:23. I don't see any more questions coming in. Tyler, anything else on the Twitch?
Nope.
I will try to punch these notes up today. You know, get more of the stuff I said and didn't write into these before I publish it. But I'm trying to do my best to get the videos out same day. So gonna try and keep my streak going. Thank you everybody for joining the call. Really appreciate everyone's time, and we will see you next month. Have a great summer. Talk to you guys soon.